In the middle of the Irish countryside, there's a patch of land no farmer will plow, no builder will touch, and no road crew wants to cross. It's not fenced off. There's no sign. There's no law telling them to stay away. Well, not always. It's just a low grassy ring, overgrown with hawthorn and bramble, sitting in the corner of a field like it's been quietly waiting there for over 1,000 years. Locals call it a fairy fort, and the story of what happens when you disturb one, well, it's put minor Irish government careers, an American sports car company, and multi-billion euro fortunes on the wrong side of some very bad luck. These are ring forts, raths, lisses, cashels, duns, depending on where in Ireland you're standing, and there are a lot of them. Somewhere north of 45,000 still survive across the country, roughly 1 for every 2 square kilometers of land. That makes them the single most common ancient monument in all of Ireland. Drive through the countryside and you've passed dozens without even noticing. These weren't built by fairies, druids, or ancient giants. They were built by farmers. Ordinary early medieval farmers, most of them between the years 500 and 900 AD. A ring fort wasn't a fortress in the castle sense. It couldn't withstand a real siege. It was a farmstead, a circular earth bank, sometimes topped with a wooden fence, wrapped around a house, some outbuildings, and enough space to pull your cattle inside at night when raiders were about. The bigger and more elaborate the fort, more banks, more ditches, the wealthier the family living inside. But by the time those wooden houses rotted away and families moved on to build somewhere new, all that was left behind was the shape, a ring of earth going quietly wild, and an empty, ancient, unexplained circle sitting alone in a field is exactly the kind of thing a story grows around. So how did farmhouses turn into fairy houses? The answer goes back to medieval Irish mythology, specifically a text called the Book of Invasions. According to that story, Ireland's first divine race, the Tuatha Dé Danann, were eventually defeated in battle by human invaders, the Milesians, but instead of vanishing, the Tuatha Dé Danann were allowed to keep half the island, the half underground. They retreated into the earth, into the old mounds and raths, and over centuries they were reimagined as the fairies, the good people, the ones you really don't want to upset. So when you're told a fairy fort is a fairy's house, that's not folklore assigned at random. It's the ghost of Ireland's own former gods, said to still be living exactly where they were left. Whatever you want to call the beings said to live there, fairies, the good people, the gentry, the rule around the forts themselves has stayed remarkably consistent for centuries across the whole country. Leave them alone. Don't cut the bushes growing on a fort. Don't dig into one. Don't take stone from one to build a wall or a house. And people who broke that rule reported all kinds of consequences. Livestock going missing overnight, strange trances, run after run of bad luck touching a family's health or fortune. Even a lone hawthorn tree growing by itself in a field gets folded into the same belief, thought to mark a fairy path or a gathering point, and just as dangerous to touch. Then there's the DeLorean Motor Company. Yes, the DMC-12, the car from Back to the Future. When the factory was being built outside Belfast in the late 1970s, there was a lone hawthorn on site. Local workers refused to cut it down. American managers spread a rumor that there was money buried underneath it, just to get contractors to finally clear it. The tree disappeared overnight. Nobody ever admitted to cutting it. The factory opened behind schedule, over budget. The car got mediocre reviews, and within 2 years, the company had collapsed into bankruptcy, with its founder later arrested in a cocaine trafficking sting. There were plenty of very real, very human reasons the DeLorean company failed. But in Ireland, more than one person will still tell you it started with that tree. The biggest ferry fort controversy in modern Irish history happened around the Hill of Tara, once the seat of Ireland's ancient high kings. In 2007, construction began on the M3 motorway straight through the surrounding valley. Archaeologists discovered a massive ceremonial site along the route, a wooden henge thousands of years old at a place called Lismullen. The environment minister signed off on its destruction anyway, and the road went ahead. What followed reads like a curse checklist. The minister was held up by an armed gang, then demoted out of his job. The transport minister was nearly pulled out of a helicopter when its door came loose mid-flight. Locals reported swarms of unusually large wasp nests appearing across the valley the following summer. In old Irish tradition, a sign of an angry earth. One activist called it the modern curse of Tara, and tied Ireland's economic collapse that same year to the very same date construction began. And Tara wasn't a one-off. Around the same time, Sean Quinn, once the richest man in Ireland, moved a ferry fort on his own land in County Kevin. Not long after, his multi-billion-euro business empire collapsed. A sitting member of the Irish Parliament went on record, twice, in 2007 and again in 2017, blaming a stretch of persistently crumbling road on the fact that it was built straight across a network of old ferry forts, despite engineers pointing to a much more boring explanation involving unstable subsoil. These days, it's not just superstition standing guard over these sites. Ferry forts are legally protected archaeological monuments under Irish law. In 2021, a development company in Killarney was fined for failing to carry out required archaeological monitoring next to a recorded ferry fort on their building site. So today, if the ferries don't stop you, the National Monuments Act might. And here's the strange part. All that fear, all those centuries of farmers refusing to plow a corner of their own land, of road crews downing tools and refusing to dig, it's arguably the reason so much of Ireland's early history survived at all. No preservation society did that. No law did that, not for most of it. Superstition did. The fairies, as one folklorist put it, turned out to be the best protectors of ancient monuments Ireland ever had. So next time you're driving through the Irish countryside and you spot a strange little green ring of trees sitting untouched in the middle of a field, now you know why it's still there. Let me know if you want more like this. I've already covered the Banshee and the story behind Halloween. Links are up now. And if there's a piece of Irish folklore you want me to dig into next, drop it in the comments.